In Part 2, Chapter 67 of Don Quixote, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza arrive at the place where they were previously trampled by the bulls. Don Quixote decides that he, Sancho, Samson Carrasco, Master Nicholas, and Pero Perez should all become shepherds during the year, that he's not allowed to practice knight errantry. Before bed, he and Sancho Panza get in yet another argument about Sancho's overuse of proverbs. In Part 2, Chapter 68, Don Quixote wakes Sancho Panza and scolds him once more for failing to complete his assigned lashings to release Dulcinea del Toboso from her enchantment. They are interrupted by 60 pigs being driven to market who trample master, squire, horse, and donkey. Don Quixote feels this is just punishment for his sins. The next day, they find themselves surrounded by a group of men carrying lances and shields and are escorted back to the Duke and Duchess's castle. In Part 2, Chapter 69, a funeral scene greets the former knight-errant and his squire when they arrive at the castle. Altisidora is supposedly hovering between life and death, and it's up to Sancho Panza to bring her back, which requires him receiving 25 slaps to the face, as well as numerous pinches and pinpricks. Altisidora comes back to life, and Don Quixote begs Sancho Panza to take the rest of his 3,300 lashes to disenchant Dulcinea. Sancho refuses, and Altisidora suddenly sits up, curses Don Quixote, and heaps praise on Sancho Panza. The fake funeral thus concluded, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza are escorted to their old rooms. In Part 2, Chapter 70, Samson Carrasco visited the Duke and Duchess after learning of Don Quixote's whereabouts from the page who delivered the letter to Teresa Panza. The Duke and Duchess, aware of Samson's plan to make Don Quixote give up his knighthood, come up with one more elaborate prank to play on the former knight, which is why Altisidora pretended to be dead. Altisidora storms into Don Quixote and Sancho Panza's apartment and tries to make Don Quixote feel guilty for not returning her fake affections. Don Quixote tells Altisidora that she needs to forget about him and worry about her own modesty. To Sancho Panza, Don Quixote isn't just a crazy guy with impossible dreams, he's truly a knight-errant. Cervantes is saying that you can be whomever you want to be, but as seen at the end of the story, it may come with a cost.